Okay, so good morning, friends, and welcome. This coalition is dedicated to ending homelessness in Pierce County. Let's keep our eye on the ball. It brings together policymakers, government, nonprofit entities, and individuals. Working together, we make a difference. We bring our personal histories with us, some of which is hard, and the privileges we enjoy, not by right, but at the expense and effort of others. Pierce County is located on land stewarded by indigenous people long before we came and enjoys an infrastructure built by the labor of immigrant and oppressed people who endured great indignities and injustice. Those indignities and injustices continue today. We feel our responsibility to do our part to right wrongs, to respect each person's human dignity regardless of circumstance, and to work for the common good. We all know how to work hard, and we're willing to do this hard work. Today, I'd like to remind us that the hardest part of our task is not the work we do. It's not being distracted from it all by the chaos and the harm and destruction swirling around us. It's keeping our eye on the ball. There's an American novelist, Tom Robbins, from Laconner, Washington. He wrote, "The trick is this: keep your eye on the ball, even when you can't see the ball." Okay, that's clever, but how do we do that? As we come into our time together, I invite us to take a moment, do a slow, deep breath in and out. Bring yourself to this time and place to support each other and to work together. And then share and chat, if you like, the thing that helps you keep your eye on the ball, even when you can't see the ball. I'll be putting mine in. Rob's going to be putting our meeting norms in chat. These are the courtesies that we show in respect for each other in the work we do. It's mostly a matter of giving space to all voices and to go off camera if we do something that might be distracting to others. Thanks, and back to you, Rob.
Thank you, Verna, and thank you for stepping in while Rosemary's away. So the next thing I'd like to do is invite folks who may be returning to the coalition meeting after a period away, or folks who are new to the coalition, to take a moment to introduce yourself if you would like. You can just use the raise hand function or raise your physical hand if you're on camera, and I'll call on you. And what this is meant to be is an opportunity to introduce yourself to the 46 of us who are in the room. Um, it's not meant to be a long introduction to a program you run or the nonprofit you work for. We do have opportunities for that. Every week we have community spotlights that we schedule during these meetings. And you can reach out to Teresa Power Drudis to arrange those. If I was organized, I would put her email in the chat, but I don't have that right now. But Teresa's the person to reach out to schedule those. So let me step aside and urge anybody who's new and would like to introduce themselves or returning to have an opportunity to say hello. And I do see a lot of activity in the chat. That's a great prompt, Verna, to encourage folks to share how they keep their eyes on the ball. If you are new to our meeting, and thank you, Garrett. If you are new to our meeting and would prefer to just introduce yourself in the chat, that is also an option. I will mention that the chat is a very active part of every Friday's meeting. So encourage folks to share there, share resources, and answer each other's questions. Whitney, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I have my headphones in, so I can never tell. I'm Whitney Stevens. I have been attending these meetings for a couple of months, and I find great value in learning and hearing the day-to-day struggles of our unhoused neighbors and the people doing the hard work. I am currently a candidate for mayor, but I am a longtime mutual aid participant, and I find this work incredibly rewarding, and I look forward to being here for the long haul. Thanks everybody for the work you do.
Thank you, Whitney. All right. So why don't we shift over to the standing item that we open every week's meeting with, and that is we carve out time every week to allow folks to share what they're seeing changing on the streets this week. This is an opportunity for folks who do individual outreach as volunteers or for outreach teams to share what they're seeing changing on the street and to raise up any particular issues that the folks in this room might be able to help address. The one caveat to that is that we ask folks not share the exact location if they have of where a community needs help. If you do have an exact location, you can send me a direct message in the chat, and I can connect you with outreach folks to be able to get out to that community and take care of the particular challenge that you're seeing. But let me step aside. Well, let me provide just a little bit of context because it's suddenly uh, summer weather time. And as you may have noticed, the forecast for this weekend includes some unseasonably warm weather. So very briefly, I wanted to share the forecast from the Weather Underground that's centered in Tacoma. It shows high temperatures sneaking into the 80s with peak high temperature forecast this Sunday at 89 degrees and then 88 on Monday. Because of that, we will have hot weather check-in meetings starting this weekend, hosted by Pierce County Human Services. I'm going to flip over to the heat risk map that's produced by the National Weather Service. You'll see in this map that there's just a tiny couple of small dots in Pierce County that have moderate or orange level heat risk on Saturday. The hot temperatures shifted out a day essentially. And so now when you look at the Sunday forecast for Pierce County, most of the county, except up areas up at high elevations near Mount Rainier, down around the white area here, are in the orange or moderate heat risk, and they stay in moderate heat risk on Monday. So because of that, there are going to be hot weather check-in meetings for folks to coordinate outreach across the county on Sunday and Monday mornings at 8:30. If you didn't get the invite for that and you would like to attend, please let me know. I can send out the invite here to the inclement weather list that we have on the coalition's list of email lists that we run. Hope to see you at those meetings if you're going to be providing outreach and help to folks on the streets during the heat this weekend. One final note about the heat risk map. What this tool tries to do is to deal with the situation or the reality that temperatures in the upper 80s or 90 degrees in the beginning of summer are particularly more dangerous than they are later in the summer. So if we see temperatures in the upper 80s and 90s in August, we'll probably still see moderate heat risk, but there's people's bodies would be more acclimated to the heat at that point. So it's not as critical of a concern as it is early in the season. So with that being said, let me step aside and urge folks who are doing outreach or who have questions about hot weather response or anything else to share here during our On the Streets segment. Feel free to raise your hand or come off mute and we can start the conversation. Sally?
Good morning, everybody. We went out with water this morning to the Mid-Hilltop folks, about 40 folks that we could find. A couple of things that we noticed. One is that they're grateful to get the water. They were mostly unaware that there's going to be much hotter weather coming in the next few days. So my suggestion is that everybody give people a little weather forecast if you're out handing stuff out, so that they know what to expect. The other thing is if the unhoused people that you're helping are in a high concrete, low tree area, chances are the functional temperatures are going to be 4 or 5 degrees hotter than the forecast. And so the folks you're trying to help may be disproportionately affected by the heat. So just keep an eye on that as well. The folks that I go out to see have been swept out of the places that have shade. And so they're in the sun basically all day. So that's a challenge for them. And I'm guessing that's a challenge in other places in the city and maybe out in the Parkland area as well, which is pretty built up as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. And Sarah, I see your hand up.
I would like to participate in the meetings. I'm concerned for people who aren't able to get access to safety issues. I'm a member of Pierce County Association of the Blind, and I can just email them information and how to access certain things, such as if they I'm not sure if we're doing shelters for day shelters for warm weather or not, but if we are, I can let them know where they're at, and so they can get sometimes shuttleable offer free rides to those. So that's why I was thinking about trying to do what I could to help out and coordinate with those who are visually impaired.
We can make sure you get the invite to join those check-in meetings, Sarah, so that's not a problem.
You're the best.
Great. And I see Valerie's on the call as well, so I'm sure she's picking that up. Jay, your hand's up.
Sorry, I'm on the old Chromebook, so no video today. Just wanted to let you know that if you have Facebook and you go to Pierce County Emergency Facebook page, they have been doing better about posting sites that are open when we do have them open, up to 12 hours the last event, hopefully earlier this time, but just letting you know that was effective last time.
Great, thank you, Jay. And I'm going to drop in the chat a link to a page on the Pierce County website that you can watch that is used for inclement weather and other kinds of disaster responses. That's the piercecountywa.gov/ready site. So that's something you can bookmark and take a look at as we move into the hot weather spells. And you also can sign up for the PC alert texts and those sorts of things. So there are some things you can do to get prepared yourself and then prepare in order to help respond to those who are living homeless in our community right now. Jan Hutchins, I see your hand up.
Hi there. So with on the streets, I saw something that was even shocking to me after being doing this for a while, and it was an older man, in other words, my age, pushing his wife down the street. She was in a wheelchair, and he was in a wheelchair pushing her wheelchair. I was able to give them some things. They were very, very. I was just wishing I could do more.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jan. Anyone else with updates on what they're seeing on the streets? Yeah, Jay, go ahead.
I think it's really important for us to understand that we are going to be seeing far more of that scenario of disabled, of people that really have nowhere else to go and don't have the ability to go anywhere. And so that, and also start looking into Apple Health, their AHA program. It's for these scenarios to get those people into housing faster, but we have to get providers connected to that program. It is currently going to be funded for the next couple of years, and they are going forward with homeless vouchers and things like that. So it's very important for us to start looking into connecting with those programs as soon as possible and getting those trainings and starting maybe looking at fidelity and the things that are involved in that so that we can utilize that program as long as we have Medicaid. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. And I saw some head shaking in recognition that, yep, that's something we should do. Anyone else with updates from the streets this week? Valerie, do you have a moment? Do you want to share your expectations are for the response to the hot weather this weekend and kind of what's in the plan so what folks know what'll be happening?
Yeah, so we'll meet at 8:30 Sunday. We're watching the weather because it's been shifting a little bit each day. So we'll continue that as long as the National Weather Service doesn't shift it even more to Monday, Tuesday. We're in Washington. We just don't know what's going to happen. Under the orange threat with under 24 hours, then we won't be opening additional cooling centers at this time, but we will be putting together a list of places that are already open, places where folks can go. Outreach teams, I've already been communicating with them since Tuesday about who's going out over the weekend, what areas need to be high temp, and what services and supplies they might need that we can go ahead and connect them to or that we can order. We are doing a big order for some supplies. I just don't know if it's going to get here by Sunday, unfortunately. And so all of those are already in the works. We're going to update the website, but because it's orange, we won't be opening cooling centers at this time. That could change. Someone from higher leadership could tell me to, and then we make some shifts. But as of right now, that's where we'll be rolling for Sunday and Monday. I put the Zoom link for the 8:30 on Sunday, Monday into the call. But if you want to be added to my list of folks who get way too many emails from me, shoot me a message or put your email in the chat and I'll get you added to the list. So you always get all the things.
Great. Thank you, Valerie. And just a reminder that if you're doing outreach inside the city of Tacoma, you can pick up water and distribute water from the stability site. Also, I saw Christine put in the chat information about the need and share list. And Christine, you want to share a little bit about what the expectations are for the supply closet off behind 621 Tacoma Avenue North?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So the Common Good Supply Closet is open every Tuesday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. You can come by and get supplies if you plan to do outreach work. Also, you can send folks there and they can kind of shop the space and get the things that they need. And we have 4 slots on those days where during which time people can get showers. We have soap and towels and all of that. And then we usually have some snacks around for people too, and water.
Great. And Christine, has there been thoughts about having the supply closet open Sunday and Monday with the heat, or is there capacity to do that?
You know, Rob, we haven't really had a conversation about that, or if it has taken place, I haven't been a part of that conversation. So I'll check in with Teresa and
Okay.
Jake and see if we can scrounge up some folks who might be able to staff the closet on those days. But thank you
Great.
for bringing that up.
Yeah, and do let me know if you do that. Of course, I'm sure we could send an email out to the coalition list to see if there are volunteers to help, but you can reach out to me if it's decided and I can help out too.
Yeah, it would be nice if you did something, Rob. You just
I know,
want
I
to
don't do
contribute, so.
anything. Yeah. Um, Jan, see your hand up.
So, yes, I just wanted to let you know that I had told Teresa that I would work this weekend. I just tested positive for COVID. And Rob, that's a little push in your direction to think that maybe you don't have a cold. Maybe you should take a test. So I won't be helping this weekend. So yes, keep looking for somebody. Sorry.
Thank you for the reminder, Jan. And I did test yesterday and was negative, so that doesn't mean it'll stay that way. All right. Thank you, everyone. Any last items that folks want to share for the On the Street segment this week? All right. So let's move to our community spotlight presentation for today. And Christy from Tacoma Public Utilities is joining us. Hi, Christy. Go ahead and take the floor. Do you need to be able to present slides at all?
Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Williams from the Tacoma Public Utilities Customer Solutions Office. And I did make a presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to cross my fingers that it works because I'm having all sorts of issues today with my computer, so I'm apologizing in advance. So let me see if I can get this up and going.
And I did make you co-host, so you should be able to.
Ah, there we go. It's not letting me share how I want to.
Well, I did make you a co-host, so you should be able to share. But if not, we can talk through it without slides.
Hang on here. Okay, one moment.
We see, there you, that's getting close.
You think we're good to go?
I think so, yeah, as long as you can
Okay.
go through the slides from there.
All right. And all right. Hello, everybody. I am Christy Williams. I am the new Utility Education and Outreach Coordinator for the Customer Solutions team at Tacoma Public Utilities. We are the group that facilitates all the limited income programs at Tacoma Public Utilities. We are known at the utility as the team with a heart. A little bit about our work group. We deal with a lot of customers that are in crisis because they are subject to disconnection for their services, or a lot of times they're just in need of that specialized care and need a little extra special touch, and maybe just a listening ear. My main function is that I coordinate all of the outreach opportunities. So we table at events. I coordinate staff. I've also started doing enrollment events, meaning we go to limited income apartment complexes and remove the barriers of transportation and um, oftentimes internet for customers. And we sign people up right on the spot in the parking lot of their apartment complex or maybe in the lobby. We have two main programs that we offer. Our Bill Credit Assistance Plan, which we actually just call BCAP. What that is, it's a monthly credit that if you qualify due to your income and household members, you get it automatically monthly just for signing up and qualifying. And the amount depends on whether or not you live in a 5-service home or an apartment complex. A lot of apartment complexes, you only pay for power. And then you get an additional credit if you pay your bill in full and on time every month. So for an apartment, if you're paying on time, it's a little over $49. If you're in a 5-service home, it's a little over $99 a month. And then we also have our discount rate program, which is a 35% discount on electricity, drinking water, solid waste, wastewater, and stormwater. What we like to do is it doesn't matter what program our customer applies for, we actually review the account for usage and determine which program would give the customer the biggest discount, meaning somebody in an apartment complex that lives by themselves may only have a power bill that's around $50 a month. So a 35% discount wouldn't make sense for them, but the BCAP would, even if they're elderly or disabled. So we would want to give them the BCAP even if they're age or disability qualified, because oftentimes that credit either covers their entire monthly electric bill, or it covers a large portion. And sometimes we even have a lot of senior citizens where they're able to build up a credit because they're not even using $49 a month worth of electricity. Documents. Here's a list of documents that we need for a customer to be able to apply for one of our programs, but I do want to let you know that we can be flexible. We try and remove as many barriers as we can. As an example, we can look at somebody's bank statements if they come into the lobby and are able to pull them up on their cell phone because they don't have a printer at home. We just are trying to make things as easy as possible for the customer, but because we are a public utility and not a private one, we do have to have a documentation on file. Qualifications or eligibility for our BCAP program. Of course, they must be a TPU customer and fall within the income guidelines, which I will send out to Rob. I will go ahead and get you the flyer if you wanted to send it out to everybody on this call today. And what's really great about this program is it's simply based off of income and household members, and there's no age or disability requirement for this. So simply income and household members. And our discount rate eligibility requirements is, of course, you must be a TPU customer and live full-time in your home. But this one is, you do have to be over the age of 62 or receiving disability income. And the household income and members must fall within our guidelines. If our customer does qualify for one of our programs, we highly suggest that they contact either the Metropolitan Development Council, if they live in the city of Tacoma limits, or Pierce County Human Services if they are in the county, because they might be eligible for LIHEAP funds, which is federal dollars that gets put directly onto the customer's account. And I did want to mention that although LIHEAP has been funded through 2025, the president's 2026 budget proposal does eliminate all federal LIHEAP funding, which is approximately $4 billion, and it's actually threatening support for over 6 million households. Did want to mention that 211 always has the most updated resources available. So if they are in crisis and are in danger of losing their services, please encourage people to call 211. And then it just never hurts to call our office, because sometimes we know of assistance that is available, or sometimes we get emergency funding, such as last fall we got some money from the Department of Commerce where we were able to put $200 grants or pledges onto many customers' accounts. So sometimes we do get money that we didn't expect to get. And I know a lot of you are very involved in your communities. And if you have any events that you know of that you feel customer solution staff should attend so we can share information about our programs, please feel free to contact me as I make all those arrangements. If you can give me a week or two notice, I could probably get somebody to your event for you. And then does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, anybody with questions for Christy? I see Sarah, you have your hand up. And you're muted right now, Sarah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Christy, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm totally blind. I live in Pierce County, but I'm also a member of the Washington Council of the Blind Crisis Committee.
Mhm.
And what we do is we help anybody who is considered legally blind in Washington State with their water, electric, or, anything similar to that. We can't pay the rent for them. We can't do anything like that, but we can help with their utilities. Is there a way that I can connect with you so that I can give you the information?
I would love that. Yes.
Yeah, that way. And I mean, it has to be a last resort because we only do it like every 2 to 3, I think it's every 2 or 3 years, but it has to be a last resort and it has to be like a shut off notice before we can do anything. But we will, and I talk to the crisis chair all the time. In fact, what we do is I think it takes 2 other people to approve somebody's payment, and we usually do because we know that things have been real tough, especially the prices of
Yeah.
everything right now. So
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to connect with you. If you could put your contact information in the chat.
I did.
Okay, sorry, I can't see the chat right now. I've got so many screens up. But yeah, I'll connect with you, Sarah. Thank you.
If
I
we
would
can
love to.
email separately, then I could give you my phone number. I don't want to.
No, I get it. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Jarvie.
Yeah, I have a question for you. We're having a pretty serious lack of funding for utilities right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a lot of calls. And one of the things that, we do say, hey, that TPU has help programs for this. But a lot of people don't know that, and they don't know who to call or who to contact. So do you have like names of people, phone numbers? Who should people call? Because a lot of times we'll tell people, well, have you contacted TPU yet to see if they can set up a plan or whatever? And they're like, oh no, we don't know how to do that. And then they call and they just get into voicemail prison. So how do people get a hold of you for help?
So it wouldn't necessarily be myself that they would contact. So we advise people to call the main phone number, and our customer service representatives are trained to make referrals to our customer solutions office. Now, we will take calls directly as well, which our phone number for the customer solutions team is actually on our flyer that I will get to you. But oftentimes the customer can simply make a payment plan with our customer service representatives at our main number, which is the 502-8600 number. Our customer solutions team, and I'll put it in the chat, is 502-8400. But we are very willing to make payment arrangements with customers. We do not want to be the big bad utility that's shutting people's power off. Oftentimes, we do have some resources available. Now, for instance, I will let you know about our Senior Assistance Fund, which is not publicly advertised. It's a fund completely funded by Tacoma Public Utilities employees. We do fundraising activities. I'm actually on the Community Connection Leadership team that arranges these opportunities. And we will grant one-time pledges of up to $200 on a senior's account, if that will get them out of disconnect status, or sometimes they just need a little bit of help. Maybe they had unexpected medication expenses or their car broke down. So we will put that money on their account, but we don't advertise that as a resource simply because the purpose of the fund is to get somebody that's called us a little bit of help in the community. And then we also have a customer donation fund as well. So that's usually up to the representative, and they're trained to listen for the cues to make those referrals for those sources of assistance. I hope that answered your question.
Great. And there was one question in the chat from Courtney. To receive help, does the bill have to be in your name? She was in a situation where she needed help, but the bill was in the landlord's name.
Yeah, unfortunately, it does need to be in the customer's name to receive the assistance, or somebody in the household.
Garrett?
Yeah, I only listened to the second half of what you were talking about, so my apologies if you covered this, but there was a day when some of the TPU assistance funds weren't getting spent every year. Like a year would end when there was money still in an account. This was like MDC was running that. Is that the case now? Are you guys left at the end of the year with extra money you could have used for folks that are struggling with utilities and people just didn't ask you for it or know how to ask you for it? Or does the year end and you are out of money to help people?
So we have money allotted for our bill credit assistance plan and the elderly disabled discount rate. So we did have money left over in that fund. We also have the customer donation fund, which is continually we're pledging on people's accounts. So we don't typically have like emergency assistance available. We did during COVID and that was all spent, but we don't have like a bucket of money basically for bailing customers out of an emergency situation, except for the fund that's employee funded and then the customer donation fund.
All right, that sounds really mushy.
I know.
Mushy is a technical term, Garrett. All right. And Valerie asked a question of you in the chat, Garrett, so just so you know. Well, thank you, Christy, and thank you for taking the questions. I am happy if you want to send me that flyer to distribute it to the email list so that everyone has it, and appreciate you joining us.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. So next on our agenda is I've invited Trisha Munson from CommonStreet Consulting to come share a little bit about what CommonStreet is doing in Pierce County and catch us up on what you're up to, Trisha. Go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. It's always cool to see such an awesome group of people. So many names I see on the screen. I would love to see your faces, but so many names I see on the screen of people who do awesome work. So that's great. So I'm Trisha. I've done outreach and mental health related services, unhoused population services, things like that for over 15 years in Pierce County. And right now I work for CommonStreet Consulting. We are consulting firm that has a homeless response division, and we are contracted in specific areas. So I am not countywide in that role. But we do respond to encampments that are on properties that belong to our clients, basically. Some of our clients are city municipalities, some of it is utility municipalities, some of it is washed out on specific projects. But my other role in Pierce County specifically is that I'm a coordinated entry coach. I will be really transparent. I am not a computer person, so the data part of coordinated entry, I am great at getting it. And one of my biggest goals and something I'm very passionate about is teaching others how to get good data and why it's so important that we get that good data. And then I am so hopeful that we have excellent people who are training on how to enter that data appropriately and accurately. And so because I've worked in the county for a long time, I have some great relationships with folks and other teams. And basically what my team does is when we are called to a property or a property that we monitor, we come out and we start offering resources for individuals. And we work a process that's agreeable to our client, meaning who we're contracted through, as well as the people that we're serving. Our team is about 9 people, and I say about because we have individuals who do work on my team, but also do other things at CommonStreet as well. We are fully remote. Until last month or so, we do have some office space in Tacoma now at Pioneer Collective, and so I can meet individuals there. I am in the field about 90% of my time, but other providers, things like that, we can always meet at my office space there. A couple things that we don't do is I'm not able to transport by myself, but if I can steal someone from somewhere else, I'm able to transport in most cases. But my job is to go out and find out what people need, and I don't hand them a piece of paper, and I don't call 211 with them. We bring people out, we do coordinated entry. We make the calls, we walk the walk. We don't just talk the talk. And so we walk the walk with them to help get them into services, to help get them into whatever their final destination is or their transitional destination. And then we pursue that warm handoff procedure, and we take that very seriously. There is data that shows that we could go get everyone who's homeless in our county right now and put them into an apartment or a space to live. And if we don't do anything about why they're out there or what their needs are or the barriers that they're facing, they're all going to be right back outside. And so that's a process that continues to traumatize folks, and that's the last thing we want to do. We want to set people up for success. And so really as a coordinated entry coach, I would say that's the bigger hat that I wear because I'm so passionate about it. And so what I do is people who are going through coordinated entry come out, they do outreach with me. I come to their place of business and I will shadow them. And we make a great working relationship in most situations so that we are asking people questions in a less traumatic way, because I love the process that we have here in Pierce County. However, those questions are traumatizing. It doesn't matter. Not up for debate with me. This isn't an opinion column, but I feel that they're traumatizing when we ask them. And also some of our processes, we ask people the same questions at different points in their plea for help. They have to answer questions when they're screened. They answer questions with coordinated entry. They answer questions when they go, for substance use assessment. There are so many services in Pierce County that people don't know about. We have some incredible street teams. We have outreach that, happens overnight. We have a street doc. We have volunteer groups. I think one of the biggest things, and, I see a lot of faces who heard me say this a lot, so you can mute me if you are tired of hearing it. But, if I have nails and a board and a hammer, I can build something to put over my head or to sit under for an evening or a night. But if somebody else has windows and somebody else has doors and somebody else has roofing and somebody else, can build a foundation, together we can build a huge freaking house that will help somebody change their trajectory and get to that next destination for themselves. And oftentimes with our jobs, the reality is that most agencies, and this is why I don't work for nonprofit anymore, it becomes territorial. Everyone's fighting for funding. And I do shout out Pierce County often. I work in multiple counties, and Pierce County has done an excellent job of being collaborative together. But funding's territorial. And so sometimes we find these great resources and we store them like little unicorns in our pockets. And because we don't want other people to have access to them, because we want to have that to ourselves, and it doesn't work. And so I want all of us to be the unicorns in each other's pockets that we can continue to make a great difference here in Pierce County. I know that it's frustrating. I've done outreach for years, and I know that it's easy to see all the things that we're doing wrong here in Pierce County, and it's easy to see where the system's failing. But I encourage you sometime, come do outreach with me in another county, and you will come back and have a much deeper appreciation for Pierce County. I will say that at every meeting. I say it often. And then the other piece for me in my job of doing outreach is to be able to spread that awareness and education about things that are available, what works, what the processes are. I am a certified peer counselor. I am also SOAR certified, and as turnover happens and change happens in our county, we lose SOAR certified folks. I can't see my screen. So Rob, if you, I can't see y'all's screen, but if Rob, can everybody who is SOAR certified with Social Security put their raise hand emoji up?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Rob, how many do we have?
I am not. Let's see. I see I don't see any. I know Sarah just raised her hand.
Trisha, I was SOAR certified, but I have not re-upped in a couple of years.
Okay.
And Bree raised her hand. Caring with Compassion Community raised their hand.
We have a SOAR crisis, actually. Thank you for pointing this out. This is a critical problem that we're having.
So,
So can I throw something in?
yeah.
So I was just talking to the people that coordinate SOAR at our state. So there's some state employees that do that, and there's like nobody in Pierce County anymore that's even coordinating. So according to them, they don't have any contacts in Pierce County that are really doing much SOAR work. And so I've invited them to come to a future coalition meeting to talk about the process of getting SOAR certified, because this is an amazing program. So
It is.
I totally think all the time about how hard it is to keep our SOAR folks kind of with time to do the work and get them qualified, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, hope to have someone here. So I don't know if
Perfect.
any agencies can get time set aside. It's a commitment, right? And it takes money, but something we ought to work on.
It is a commitment. The actual training and stuff for it is there's no charge for it, but it is a time commitment, and then we do recertifications and things like that. But again, to my point is that we all bring something different to the table. There's a lot of things we all bring to the table the same, but we all bring something different to the table, and we need to start showing up for each other in a way that I bring what you aren't able to bring and you bring what I'm not able to bring, because that is how we're going to make a bigger impact on our community. Again, I'm not discounting any of the work anybody's doing. There have been some amazing outcomes. We've had some hard days. We've had some trauma, and that's not going away. And so I think it's just really important, alongside doing this work, it's really important that we stick together and that we continue with our focus of the best interest of the individuals we're serving, and make that our focus, and work in a way that exemplifies that, and that's the example. So that is what I do. I am always willing, and I actually love for people to come have group outreach days. I love to be able to talk to folks about crisis intervention, about SOAR, about certified peer counselor stuff. And then also when it comes to the coordinated entry side of things, one of the most important things at this time in our county is that coordinated entry is the source of access to subsidized housing referrals and to other programs. And if we are not utilizing coordinated entry as it's designed to be utilized, we're actually doing a disservice to our people, and it's a matter of good data. And so it's really important that we work together again to do that in the right way and to make sure that we're serving our folks. So I do outreach. The takeaway, I do outreach. I love to coordinate and collaborate. I am a coordinated entry coach, and I do not use my email often. So if you would like to connect, I'm going to go ahead and put my cell phone in the chat. And with that, is there any questions? And again, I cannot see hand raising for whatever reason, but
Yeah, no problem. I can bring it up. So any questions for Trisha? I see the person who's under Caring with Compassion Community with their hand up. I don't know if that's from earlier when we talked about SOAR. And maybe it is. So anybody else with questions for Trisha? Well, one thing I will say, Trisha, is that you may not use your email much, but you're very responsive on your email.
I'm trying to be so much better about it. I also want to just give one last shout out. Next week is the Outreach Academy. It's on Thursday and Friday. We're back in person this year. That is, the Outreach Academy is hosted by the Healthcare Authority of Washington, and I am one of their presenters. So if you are there, I invite you to come to my breakout group. It's called The Nitty Gritty of Outreach, and we're going to talk about all the things in outreach that are not included in your job description. And so if you're there and you don't want to come to my class, that's fine, but please come say hi and introduce yourself. COVID has taken away that face-to-face interaction for so long that it's just nice to be able to put faces to names. And some of y'all, if you're there, you better come find me because you owe me hugs. So
Jay, I see you have your hand up.
So as I mentioned way earlier in the meeting, Apple Health, homeless stuff, are you working with that group at Washington Commerce to utilize those homeless funds?
I am not. My agency is not a nonprofit. We are a consulting firm, and so we're hired by contract with certain municipalities, certain cities, and I work across the state and then in other states as well. And so, kind of our efforts on that is that if there are teams that we coordinate with or collaborate with, or teams that want to coordinate or collaborate, we just become very good partners with them to help advocate for those funds to go. Appropriate, to be appropriately allocated, and then to also provide data for what we're seeing. Again, another thing people are so tired of hearing me say, you guys, I promise I'll find new phrases, but talk to the boots, not the suits. Like, oftentimes people think they know what it's like out there and they don't. And as a certified peer counselor, I do value lived experience, but and for those of you that were in our task force meeting yesterday, like, lived experience has changed so much from what homelessness was or what street life was 5 years ago, even to now, even a year ago to now. It's just different. And so while lived experience is extremely valuable and it has multiple spots at our tables, obviously, I think it's also really valuable for us to bring funding sources, government officials, people in positions of power to talk to the people that are experiencing homelessness, to hear from them what's needed and what they want. Obviously, they're not going to come build free houses everywhere, but when they hear from people who are experiencing it and living it, what the challenges are, it just brings a different perspective, and it changes the lens. And I think that that's important. There's the government elected portion of everything, or the governing forces, I guess I would say, but then there's the providers, and then there's also people who are living it. And so that is how we stay impactful in that, Jay.
I sit on the Permanent Supportive Housing Board as a representative for lived experience and those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's necessary that we have that empathy training, and that's what we're missing in the decision making, is the ability to understand through experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Tricia, for being able to come back. I know you got bumped off because we spent so much time with Congresswoman the other day, so appreciate you being able to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the love in the comments. And Rob, just so you know, the Congresswoman staff did reach out, and we're going to have an outreach day together in Pierce County. So I'm excited for that.
That's good news. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, don't be a stranger. Feel free to join anytime.
You bet. And also on that note, I'm not staying for the rest of the meeting. I am catching a flight to go see my grandbabies in another state. So please feel free to reach out via phone or email.
Great. Thank you,
Take
Tricia.
care.
All right. So I'm going to shuffle the agenda around a little bit. I think I will move our Pierce County Comprehensive Plan to End Homelessness conversation to happen after the government updates. Why don't we shift to advocacy updates now, which means I can put Sally Perkins on the spot to talk about what's opportunities to advocate locally.
Thanks, Rob. There's a lot this week, and the things that I mentioned while I'm talking, I will put in the chat when I'm done. So if you're interested for those, look for chats that come from me with documents and links. In terms of the city, in terms of ways we could participate to advocate, there's nothing key at the June 10th study session. But the council meeting has a couple of multifamily tax exempt projects that some of you I know are interested in at 6th and Grant and at the Aviva project out on Mildred. And it is a week for community forums. So you can go and testify on anything within the jurisdiction of the city. Allison Griffith has been appointed the deputy city manager, so she'll be working for Mr. Kim. She used to run neighborhood and community services, so she brings knowledge of that area to the deputy city manager role, which is probably a plus. June 17th study session, just looking ahead, there will be a report both on the city's revenue strategy, given that they have a budget deficit going into the second year of the biennium. And they will be starting to talk about the possibility of a regional fire authority. So if you're a city nerd for that kind of stuff, that study session would be beneficial for you to watch. On June 24th, the study session will get a briefing on how the state legislative action impacts the city. On June 12th, the Community and Vitality and Safety Committee will meet at 4:30 and talk about the rental housing code and get a briefing on that. For those of you who follow that topic, that's an important meeting. And on June 17th at the Government Performance and Finance Committee, they'll be looking at the overall picture for multifamily tax exemptions and how they play out in the city. That's a place to look for how many affordable housing units actually did get authorized under that and how affordable were they really. So if that's your issue, that's at 10 o'clock in the morning on the 17th. You could spend the whole day on the 17th doing city stuff. And then if you care about police oversight, CPAC meets on June 9th. At the county, the first thing I want to do is do a shout out to Jan Runbeck and to Jake Now, who participated in an absolutely fabulous panel at the County Health and Human Services Committee meeting on Tuesday. We were trying to get that committee to look specifically at the needs of unhoused seniors and unhoused people with disabilities, and the committee had not really connected with that issue. 8 people from this coalition wrote emails to the committee asking them to address that, including Dion, Jan and Catherine, Jay Worley, Jesse Wiggers, Jessica Loving, Oneida Arnold, and Carrie DeCentero. I probably pronounced that wrong. Sorry, Carrie. Anyway, all those emails caused the committee to rework their agenda for June 3rd, and that's why that panel happened. It was really powerful, and a huge thank you to Jan and to Jake for the work they did to prepare and present. And then Cameron Shepard, who I think is also on this call, did a fabulous article that was on the front page of the e-edition the next day about that meeting. So I will attach the link to the video and a copy of Cameron's article. I'll put that in the chat. So yay for that. On June 17th, that committee meets again, more housing related stuff, and I'm hoping the county updates will cover that. At the Monday County Study Session, this will be June 9th, there will be a report on the Unified Regional Approach and the progress it is making. There have been 3 task forces formed and each of them met this week. So I'm hoping that report will include that information. The regular council meeting on June 10th, there's an ongoing debate about which flags get flown in terms of Pride and Juneteenth. So if that's an issue of interest to you, you might want to pay attention to that meeting. And they are updating the comprehensive plan, which means land use issues related to things like where shelters get put may be part of that as well. So if you are a total government nerd, you could spend all week, next week, and the week after going to city and county meetings. And that, I think, is the total update. I'll put some stuff in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. You covered a lot of ground there in just a few minutes. Any questions or comments related to advocacy? All right, and before we get to the government updates, I do want to mention that, yes, I am seeing a change in the behavior of Zoom when it comes to direct messages in particular. And I'll need to, maybe Garrett and I could both take a look and see if something has changed in the settings that is keeping folks from being able to direct message each other. I can send direct messages to people and I can receive them, but apparently others cannot. So I know there's been a number of Zoom updates. Oh, Christine, you're saying you're able to do it. I'm not seeing anything in the settings that is different, but we'll try to get to the bottom of it for next week's meeting. Jay, go ahead.
I noticed this issue if I'm not signed into Zoom directly and I'm just using Zoom out of the browser without being logged in. So if you're having problems with chat, it may be that you're not using the Zoom app or the Zoom program.
Yeah, thanks for that. Maybe that can help us troubleshoot it. So let's move on to our government updates. And first up, any updates from the city of Tacoma?
Hello, this is Alicia with
Hi,
the
Alicia.
Hope program. I just wanted to let everybody know, so I've officially and fully returned back from maternity leave as of the beginning of this week. Thank you. And then I also have some very sad news to share. Cassie Hallstone, who was my counterpart, has actually accepted a position with the Criminal Justice Training Commission, CJTC, and she is going to be doing amazing work. She's overseeing the crisis intervention training for law enforcement all across Washington State. So I think she's going to do I know she's going to do an incredible job there. However, it is just me now with the HOPE program. So I will be the only program manager, I believe, moving forward. I don't know necessarily that there's a plan to have another co-manager. So if there are any needs, questions, outreach, please email me. I can put my email in the chat again, and then I can also put the shared HOPE email in the chat. And then yeah, I think that's everything. Also, please just making a request of a little kindness if you reach out and I don't respond right away, because I'm coming back and also solo now. So thank you. Oh, and I'm sorry, one other update. The alternative response updates, instead of being quarterly, they are now biannually. So there was one in March, and now the next one will be September 16th. So they've changed from a quarterly to a biannual. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia, and welcome back. How about updates from Pierce County Human Services? And I see Devin. There you go.
I'm having some challenges. Good morning, everyone. Just a couple small updates, and I know that Valerie already covered our inclement weather activation for Sunday and potentially Monday. She covered the details of that, but if there's any questions, feel free to ask me. We're very, very close to releasing our inclement weather plan to the general public. And just as a reminder for everyone, that plan was written with a inclement weather task force that we put together that was full of advocates, providers, community members that wanted to be a part of that work. So when you see the plan, just remember it was a community effort and we all came together to get that done. It is a working document, however, so once you see it and you have suggestions, feel free to reach out to myself or Val, and we'll be happy to answer questions as they come up. The other thing, and Rob will cover this in the comprehensive plan and homelessness updates, but we do have our implementation advisory board meeting today from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I'll drop a link for the meeting in the chat. I do have the agenda in front of me, so happy to share that with folks really quickly. So we will be talking about the comprehensive plan to end homelessness / state plan, which we are currently writing. And as we are writing it, we are amending the comprehensive plan to end homelessness with the state plan guidance. The state requires us to write a plan every 5 years. And rather than writing a whole nother plan, we are integrating amendments into the existing plan so we meet the state requirements. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be reviewing 2 goals today. The first one is the unified regional approach. And the second goal is the strengthening the service provider workforce. So should be some juicy information today. We're also going to be presenting on inclement weather today. And Val will be doing that. We're also currently recruiting for new IAB members. So I'll drop the link for that recruitment in the chat. And we're going to be talking about the process related to what it takes to add folks to the IAB. And of course, what the IAB is looking for in new members. We'll give a quick contract update on continuum of care. We've got a quick update on street death tracking for those folks experiencing homelessness. We will be talking about 211 and the changes that the state announced and what the intention of our local Pierce County United Way is to keep 211 going. We'll also hear an update from Steve with Shelter Access Hub. And that is it. So pretty packed agenda today. We'll be covering some really good information. So please feel free to attend, and I'll make sure that I drop the 2 links I referenced in the chat. And happy to answer any questions. Oh, thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. Yeah, any questions for Devin? All right. Oh, Sarah, go ahead.
Yes. You said you're recruiting for people for IB. What's that?
IAB is the Implementation Advisory Board for the Comprehensive Plan to End Homelessness. And
Is
you're
this a-
welcome to apply, Sarah.
Okay. Boy, when's the application due? Because I'll need some assistance with I need some assistance with that, which my vocational rehabilitation counselor will provide.
Yeah, it's ongoing. We haven't set a deadline yet. We're gonna base that on the volume of applications we get. So you have some time. And Sarah, you have my email. So if you want to shoot me an email, we can actually schedule a time.
And this is who I so many voices here. I'm having trouble hearing. So
Oh, this is Devin from Pierce County.
oh, Devin. Okay, I think I have your email. I'll look for it. I think I do. I'll look for it. I'll email you as soon as I can.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna put it in the chat too.
Thank you. Again, that's why I asked. That's going to help because I just asked for the chat to be sent to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you at
Thank
the
you,
end
guys.
of the
You
meeting.
guys rock.
All right. Thank you, Devin. Let's flip over to updates from the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. I see Isaiah.
It's Isaiah. I'm here every week, fortunately. So I have some brief updates regarding the street medicine team. So officially, we have hired all of our staff. So that includes me, Sharnay, and our RN, our ARNP, and our MD. So we had our first official full deployment on Monday. We visited a couple locations and we were able to get, I don't know the exact number of patients that we were able to receive because I wasn't doing the clinical side of things, but we were able to support some patients and who are billable to Medicaid. So that was really good. It was 5 people. Okay. Brogan said it was 5. So 5 people got serviced on Monday, so which is really exciting. So hopefully that number continues to grow as time goes on. Our medical supplies have arrived as well. We have received more medical supplies from last week, and they were inventoried by our RN from CLR. Her name is Megan, so she's doing a great job. We are also receiving more food supplies to give out. And we're waiting to receive water. So we did put in a water order. Water is the number one thing right now on people's minds, especially as things are getting hot. We're waiting to receive our water shipments, and we're going to put them in the freezer and hand them out hopefully in the next week or two to get people to cool down. And we are also officially up to 3 deployments a week. So right now our official schedule is Monday as our full deployment with the nurses, the RN and the RNP and the doctor. And Wednesday, Friday, we're doing wound care with the RN and outreach teams. And then, yeah, we're doing outreach. We're still looking for more parking locations to send leasing agreements to. So to get an official agreement to allow us to do medical care on a parking lot. And we have also not received our no-cost extension yet. Christine, is there a question for me?
Yeah, Isaiah, are you also able to provide care for folks who are ineligible for Medicaid?
I don't believe so. Brogan, what's the answer to that?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. Okay. So the answer is yes.
Awesome. All right. And any updates from our friends at Pierce County Emergency Management?
Hey Rob, this is Wyatt from DEM. Nothing significant. Obviously monitoring the weather forecast. We've been sending out the National Weather Service updates, and we will attend any briefing calls that they might do. We haven't seen any yet, but we'll make sure that those get shared as well, and available for requests as always.
Great. Thank you for being here, Wyatt. All right, so that's it for government updates. Let's shift back and talk a little bit about the Pierce County Comprehensive Plan to End Homelessness. And I carved out a little bit more time on today's agenda so that folks could share who are participating from the coalition in the various task forces that have been set up for the unified regional approach could share a little bit from those first round of meetings that took place this week. So I know Garrett participated on the finance task force. Quite a few of us, actually, Sally, myself, Cynthia Stewart, Jay, Tim Fairley. I don't know if Tim's in the meeting right now. a bunch of us were on the governance meeting that took place earlier this week. And then there also was a meeting of the, oh, great. Thank you, Brogan, for letting us know you're on the finance task force as well. And then I was curious, I'm not aware of who from the coalition may be on the operations task force, but we just wanted to carve out some space this morning for folks to report back from those task force meetings. Jason, great. That's great to hear you're on the operations task force. So why don't we start with Garrett? I know you sent an email with a summary to the list, which is more than I managed to do this week. Anything you want to share in the meeting, Garrett?
Sure. Yeah. And Bianca, you can jump in if you have anything. So we met on Monday and it was like 2.5 hours and it was a lot of ground setting. I think a number of folks in the room were not as familiar with like the homeless world as I am. And so I think it was a super useful meeting to kind of get everybody in the same place a little bit. And they kind of laid out what our goals are. So next meeting, so our goals are basically finding new and sustainable resources and how jurisdictions should be advocating for those resources. And so basically the goal is to put a financing plan together to give to the electeds. And so we're gonna, I think, work on putting that together next Monday. And then that's going to end up getting sort of solidified the following Monday. So a chunk of our work is done in 3 weeks, so 3 meetings. And then the product of that, which is like a funding plan, I guess, is going to go to the elected. There's like an elected committee. No, there's a staff committee, so it'll go to the staff committee for the different jurisdictions, and then it'll go to the elected committee, and they'll then make recommendations, and it'll come back to us, I think, to put bows on it or finishing touches or redo it, or I don't know, whatever comes out of that whole process. Bianca, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, sure. So I think the other thing, so the new and sustainable resources part, I call in my head like plant money trees. But the other things were regional service contracts and resource transparency, which I think are really important. And yeah, for me, I don't think that when they originally said the electeds, I didn't understand that part. At first, I was like, did we elect people to be the governing part of this? But it is people who have elected positions in different city and county government.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Garrett and Brogan. Sally, do you want to talk a little bit about what we covered at the governance meeting, the initial kind of ground setting meeting that took place earlier this week?
I may not be the best person to do that. I oscillate between hoping this works and worrying that it's not going to. So what I was interested in is what is the structure that they're intending for governance and how is it going to work? They apparently have chosen the interlocal agreement as the mechanism for putting the URA thing together. I have mixed feelings about that. There are usually when ILAs get worked on at the local level, the whole thing ends up in legal review hell for a very long time, and that won't help us if that happens in this case. I've raised that concern, and I hope it got written down somewhere because I think that's going to be really important. I also raised the two other things. One, that not every governance model is a government model. The mutual aid governance model is a model that's used widely in Pierce County, but not by government officials. And I wanted to be sure if they're going to talk about governance models, they ought to include all of them. So I raised that point. And I raised the point that there is a vast amount of volunteer money and time and effort going into serving unhoused people in our community that is generally not taken seriously or accounted for by any of the government entities. And so if they're going to talk about resources, they have to realize that that is a huge resource base and that their policies could either facilitate those efforts or screw them up. So those are my opinions. So there are other people who are on that governance task force who I hope will add their thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sally. And anybody else who participated in the governance task force this week that would like to share, and I can do so as well. But Jay, anything you wanted to add?
I just raised my hand. On the point that Sally was making, I think it's very important that we think about what has worked for our volunteer and what we want to put forward so that we keep the processes that work the best and do the best and add that and transfer it to the plan, but protect ourselves and the work that we do at the same time. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how you guys want to do that, but we need the feedback in this process from our volunteer workers as much as we do from our paid. And so if you guys have thoughts, letters, considerations, you can send them to my email, or I'm sure that Rob wouldn't mind. Sally, that's up to you if you want to put yourself on the block. But we need to hear from you guys what we want to share and what we want to protect in this process on the level of volunteer work. It was a lot of graphs and repeating, and we're going to do this work in chunks and the calendar, but we haven't really gotten into the work because we have to wait until the other processes bring up what they want to so that we can look at it. We're kind of in the governance, the last person to run it through where the information hold. So it's going to be a long process, but I have hope and I have concerns, some that match Sally's. But I have more hope than concern.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. And similar to Sally and Jay, some concerns on my part as well. I did want to share the task force workflow slide that was shared during the governance meeting. That of course we just had the early June kickoff and kind of level setting meeting as the initial meeting. This next week we'll get into different approaches for governance for something like this. And then in late June, the following week, come up with 2 to 3 options that we would like to send then to the staff, county staff. Everything is queuing up for each of these task forces to present proposals that will then be reviewed essentially by the elected leadership group at their July 18th meeting. And then it's going to go through an iterative process and go back to these 3 task forces for meetings in August and September to move it forward. It's all very governmental, very process-based right now. That's where we're at. In terms of operations and what that task force did, Jason, what can you share?
So similar things to what everybody has said. It was interesting. I think the quote or the thing they had, right, is that the goal of this is to have a more unified regional approach, which we talked about that being a pretty low bar of things. I'm like, more than nothing is not a lot, but so be it. And so we really talked on, they gave us kind of, like I said, they did the grounding and kind of the layout of everything in the schedule with the other task force and the elected officials. But there were 3 question areas or problem solving areas that we are tasked with working on. And I'm going to forget exactly how they phrased them all, but the first one is a single point of entry into the system. We talked about how we think of coordinated entry as a single point of entry, but it's not, right? There's a lot of, to what some other people said, there's a lot of work and communication and services provided that don't have anything to do with coordinated entry. Data sharing, that there is some sort of data sharing and how that works across the entire county. Shared contract language was a third, and the fourth, which I remember the exact phrasing, but basically consistent operations, how things work across everything and all services. And so those are the 4 areas we're going to work on moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And is there anybody else in the room who's on the operations task force? All right. And it's fine if you don't want to reveal yourself too. Well, we will, as these meetings continue, make this kind of a fixture that we report back to the coalition. I think there's a lot of value to hear from folks in this room who are service providers as well as community members who may have ideas and input that would be good to kind of be seeded into this process. So look forward to hearing and having these discussions over the next few weeks. And actually over the next few months as this process continues. So stay tuned. All right, so the next thing on our agenda is to do a breakout discussion, but before everybody leaves, because I know people leave when we do breakouts, I wanted to explain what we're focused on today. So during next week's meeting, we are inviting the candidates for the position of mayor in the city of Tacoma to come talk with the coalition and answer some questions in the first of what we hope will be a series of conversations with people who are running for office before the primary election. There are, I believe, 6 people running for the mayoral position in Tacoma. A couple of them are in the room, actually. And we have a couple of questions in mind that we're going to ask each of the mayoral candidates to address during next week's meeting. But we wanted to hear from the group here and have a short breakout, just what kinds of additional questions we should ask candidates for Tacoma mayor during the meeting so that we can make sure that everybody in the room, there's still 50 of us here, has their questions in full consideration. Um, I want to thank Jan Hutchins has been arranging and doing all the background work to bring candidates to the meeting. And Jan, any other context you would like to share?
No, I'm very excited that we have 5 of the 6 who plan to join us.
That's awesome. So what I want to do is send us into small breakout rooms. I think we'll just do 10 minutes today on this topic. And again,
Yolanda, oh my gosh. Oh, so good to see you.
just a second.
Okay.
So just as a reminder for the breakout conversation, the purpose of these breakouts is to allow folks to have an opportunity to network and have conversations with each other in a somewhat like we may have done in the past when we met in person, but while also discussing the question at hand. What I would urge you is if in each breakout room, if somebody could take some notes and paste those in the chat when we come back to the main room, that would be fantastic. We want to capture what questions folks think we need to ask, and there's no better way than straight from your typing them into the chat field when we get back. So let me set up the rooms. I'm going to put just a few of us. We've still got 41 people here. I'm going to do 4 rooms and we will spend the next 10 minutes. And again, the question is, what questions do you think we should ask candidates for Tacoma Mayor during next week's meeting? Away we go. And we'll come back here at 10:34. Thank you for hanging in there, everybody. If you took notes in your breakout room for questions and you can paste those into the chat, that would be fantastic. We spent a little bit of time while you all were having your conversations trying to figure out the new chat interface for Zoom, and we came up with some answers. So we'll talk about that here in a moment. But while people paste that into the chat, what we did find is that there's a couple of ways that it does appear you can send a chat with someone. One is if you have the participant list open and you click on you mouse over a person's name, click on more and click chat, you can still send a direct message chat that way. Also, it appears, at least on the screens that Garrett and I were troubleshooting, that they've changed the chat sidebar to have kind of a tabbed interface. So I'm going to paste a screenshot into the chat that shows what it looks like on my screen. And then Garrett, you said that you were able to, in that interface, click a button in the upper right that allowed you to send a chat?
Upper left was like it's a new chat, which
Oh,
was
okay.
not something, it's like it's this tab idea, and that was what allowed me to pick someone's name in order to send them a
Got
direct
it.
message.
Yep. Yep. I
So,
see that too. I didn't
but
realize that
before it
icon
wasn't,
was something you could click.
yeah, it didn't even occur to me that there would be this sort of new structure. So I could do it
Yeah.
all along. It just, or maybe not. I went and logged myself in, so that could also be a thing.
All right. So thank you. I see some chat starting to show up. Let's shift while people paste their things into the chat, shift over to a real quick review of any committee updates. I know Rosemary and Teresa are not here, so probably not a lot to share there, but I will do a quick review of our committee meetings again and remind you can always find our committee meetings on the pchomeless.org website, listed on the homepage. The Safe Sites for All meeting takes place every Monday at noon. We go from noon to 12:30. That meeting is focused on safe parking and the idea of creating safe sites across the county for folks. At 12:30, we switch over and spend a half hour talking about communications and advocacy items for the coalition. On Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 4, folks for the coalition steering committee meet. And the focus of those meetings is to make sure we shore up the agenda for the Friday meeting, as well as talk about any issues that are bubbling up during the week that we need to consider and maybe put on the agenda for Friday. Anyone is invited to join the steering committee. It's not a special group. They're not elected. Just like this coalition in general, we're all coming to the table together to work toward ending homelessness. And so if you have an interest, please show up, and that link is in the chat, or I mean on the webpage. And then Thursday mornings, we meet and work on the redesign of the website. So that meeting takes place at 9:30 from 9:30 to 10, and anybody's welcome who would like to help with the website. So let's spend a few moments before we wrap up today's meeting with carving out time for good trouble announcements and success stories. And the first thing I wanted to mention is that next Thursday, we will have our regular networking social that we do on the second Thursday of every month. The social will be held at Tacoma Pi on 6th Avenue, starting at 4 o'clock. So typically, gather at the location from 4 to 6. We might even linger longer, but the hope is that people have a chance to network in person and just kind of get together and build community together. That will be posted on the website later today. So anybody else with updates that they'd like to share, good trouble announcements and otherwise? Yeah, Sarah, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because when I went back in, it said recording in progress. I didn't know if I had to confirm again or not. But anyway, so I because of my computer and that, I've been having some difficulty with my microphone because it's not very accessible. And I just applied to get a new microphone and I was accepted.
Awesome.
So I get to go microphone shopping this weekend.
That's exciting.
Thank you. I'll be able to hear you a lot better.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, can you
We heard you, but then you cut
hear
out.
me? Because I'm in a spotty spot. Okay. Okay. Well, I did stop talking. Let's see if it works. Because of a comment I left, hopefully they will stop using the word stakeholder and we'll go statewide with these partners. And then also they didn't know about the 211 consolidation, so I informed them about that. And really, I call all of that good trouble.
Thank you, Courtney. Yep, it's all good trouble. Anyone else with announcements, good of the order items, things they'd like to share with the 28 of us who are still here? Sarah, I see your hand up.
Well, this is actually a request for a couple of volunteers.
Go for it.
We're looking for some people we're having a picnic. The Pierce County Association of the Blind is having a picnic at Spanaway Lake Park on the 19th of July, and we're looking for a couple of volunteers who can help with food because fortunately we're smart enough not to get a bunch of blind people together and have them try to decorate their own hamburgers at the same time. So anyway, it's $15 a person, and I would be willing, I can help at least one person with the donation cost for the picnic, because that helps us pay for the food, but I'd be willing to pay at least one person's donation if they'd be willing to help volunteer.
Great. Well, thanks for putting the question out there, Sarah.
You guys know how to email me.
Email's the best way to reach out?
Yep.
All right, and I'll drop your email in the chat. All right. Anyone else with good of the order items?
I had one more thing and then I'll shut up.
Go for it.
The thing is, it's really cool that that I've been asked to be to apply for that committee, because my my employment counselor, my vocational rehabilitation counselor, says that's the perfect kind of job she wants me to do. So if I apply for it, I'll get help from Department of Services for the Blind. I'm going to be informing her about it here in just a few minutes.
Awesome. Well, good luck.
So this has really been a benefit, and I'm not trying to benefit, but I'm happy to be working.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that can be really hard to get to.
Uh-oh.
All right. Anyone else with any items to share? If not, I do want to thank everybody for attending today and remind folks, if you have an interest in helping plan next week's meeting, there'll be a small group of us staying on this call. After about a 5-minute break, we'll be doing some planning. But for everyone else, I want to wish you a happy weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday. Thanks, everybody.